Good evening, everybody. I'm FefieAnn, and welcome to episode 2 of my podcast. Today I have with me Carlos, who is also my boyfriend.
Hello.
A little louder, babe.
Hello.
I guess just to clarify with everybody, is this your first time on a podcast?
Yes.
Okay, it's my second time, so I'm not much better.
You have twice the experience I have.
I really do. So, today we kind of just want to talk about, kind of going back into the title of the entire podcast, the Millennials. Both Carlos and I are millennials ourselves. We are actually birthday twins. And we're dating. Isn't that something crazy?
Yep, we get mistaken for twins all the time.
I promise we don't make out. We thought about it. It would freak a lot of people out.
Wait, you didn't explain that to them.
Oh, no. Damn it, babe.
And you just said we don't make out, but I'm your boyfriend. Of course we make out. We just don't pretend to be twins and
not
make out.
after they tell... Exactly, not after we're twins.
Yeah,
That's
so
weird.
we should do it.
I don't know. That's a little weird. We can try, though. But anyway, so this channel, essentially, this podcast, is just discussing millennials, and kind of the way I want to go about it is that I kind of just bring people on board, and we kind of just talk about what our personal experiences are, you know, being at this age, at this time, and dealing with all the different circumstances that differentiate us from other generations. I do want to highlight on a couple of facts. I did some really fast research kind of regarding the generation. So just to give everyone a heads up, a millennial is someone who was born from 1980 to 1996. This is according to Pew Research. The definition of the last year of the millennial has kind of been wishy-washy between 1995 and 1996, but as of now, 1996 is that final date. A couple of factors that kind of differentiate our generation from others is the fact of the 2008 recession. We are all, I guess, affected by it in a way where we earn what arguably maybe 20 years ago would be considered a really good salary, and then we're all on the struggle bus here. So I guess kind of...
No, it's harder to find jobs too.
It is harder to find jobs.
It's the whole you need experience to find a job, but you need a job to get experience.
Oh yeah, just like that meme with the little toddlers wearing uniform and briefcases or whatever.
Yeah, 20 years of experience by the age of 2.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. But absolutely, and even I feel that personally, where now I feel that I'm at a decent salary. And as I stated in my previous segment, I do have I carry all my weight. So I am also a homeowner, and I feel a couple of things. One of them is that what I purchased my home for 10 years before that, which yes, arguably was at the right after the fall in 2008, you know, and prices were all dirt cheap. I got a lot less.
In 2001, my parents bought our first home down here in Miami. I think it was $80K, and it was a 3-2.
Yeah, that's kind of relatively my parents in the end of the 80s, where they had limited income, and I kind of going to guesstimate, so I'm sorry if I get this incorrect, but I'm assuming they had a total family income of maybe 60 or 70,000, and they purchased a home, a 3-2. Yeah, granted it had no car garage, but decent backyard, very good location, brand new construction for $88K, and that's I did not pay that for my condo. Nope. I'm going to be very clear about that. I'm not going to tell you guys what I paid, because you know you guys don't need to know that either.
3 times as much.
No, not that much. No, definitely not that much. But still, I paid a lot more for a 2-2, which apart from the generation also having this major issue with the recession and having difficulty of finding jobs, and then also not being able to enjoy their money as much as other generations, there's a couple of highlights that I do want to point out that are positive. The fact that as a generation we are in full understanding mode. We know what's going on. We try to educate ourselves for the most part. Can't exactly speak for everybody.
We care more about the environment.
That is true, and we are not major restaurant eaters either. At least us personally.
Or Uber Eats either.
Or Uber Eats either, because that's expensive, and I am not paying $50 for McDonald's. No, thank you. I'm exaggerating, but either way, do you have student loan debt?
Do I ever? Yes.
I paid mine off February of 2019, and it's kind of an interesting thing, you know. I did say I have a lease, so I had to sell my old car, got $2,500 for that, and I miss Max every day, but I like Bolt. Those are the names of my cars, everybody. But the difference I actually ended up pulling from my savings, and that's how I was able to nuke the smokes out of my student loan debt. If it wasn't for that, I mean, I probably would have just recently been able to pay it off. And I was in a different circumstance where I was able to have a lot of scholarships, and my parents were very helpful too. They helped as much as that they were able to, and then I would let them help me too, because I was one of these masochists who ended up liking to suffer a little bit. But most students, they say they graduate with about $38,000 in student loan debt, and you have beginner jobs at $35K, $40K.
Well, it depends on your profession, but yeah. I think I graduated with around 22,000 in debt, and now 5 years being into the work market, I'm at around 14.
Yeah, which is not a lot, and
No,
that's how
it's
you know
not.
the
There's
interest is
people
getting you.
with hundreds of thousands of dollars in.
Oh yeah, I know a few.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I just hope they did their masters in that ridiculous amount of debt. I mean, I even called our local state university. Local, I mean, I guess within our municipality, and their online program for a master's was $42,000. And master's degrees, their financing processes are a little bit different.
Yeah.
You kind of got to find it. There's not really many scholarship, if any. Very few scholarship opportunities.
Not unless you play sports. If you play sports, they're handed to you.
Oh yeah, handed in quotation marks, everybody.
If you're into the sciences, you have to fill in an application, do a ton of essays, and then maybe you'll get it.
Maybe. Yeah. And it's also with work, I mean, doing a master's not immediately after graduating from a 4-year, you kind of have different responsibilities. I mean, some people settle down, people are full-time workers, where your employer or employment, place of employment, now becomes it takes precedence over everything else.
I feel like it's always easy to go straight from your bachelor's to your master's, but you can't really get the full experience of your master's without some work experience.
Yeah,
unless you're gonna go straight into PhD and then just go down that route.
And that's if you're going to be a professor in many cases. But at least from what I've heard, I have a business degree, and my understanding is that successful in that, it's a lot of networking that's the value you're going to pretty much get out of it, apart from the skills. And you do want to have experience in the workplace to have some of these theoretical concepts kind of apply. I mean, if not, what are you doing? I don't know. Maybe one day I'll go back and get my master's. Hopefully sooner than later. Thinking about it, everybody. Not 100% on it yet. So I guess in a way it's kind of talk to me briefly about how you manage your money.
Briefly, I pretty much try to spend as little money as possible. I do take out a chunk of it every paycheck and put it into my savings.
Would you say that's at least a 15% of your paycheck?
I'd say more.
More? That's really good, actually. So what about your circumstances? Talk about that. Do you own cars? Do you lease? Do you pay?
I don't lease.
And
I personally would not buy a brand new car. I am perfectly happy buying used cars.
And I will buy the new car.
You can buy the new car.
I like the technology.
I can add the technology.
Well, not to everything.
Well, I mean,
You try.
you can.
Yeah. Whatever. You did really good work with your other car. That looks good.
Which one?
The Jetta.
The Jetta. Thank you.
Looks pretty good.
Thank you.
It didn't have a reverse camera.
Yeah.
Backup camera. What is that even called?
Reverse camera.
Yeah, everybody understands what I mean, right?
Yeah.
But and yeah, it usually works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, don't tell them that. It always works.
So, do you own any property yet?
No.
I did buy my property at the end of 2017,
Mm-hmm.
and it was probably the most stressful 6 months of my existence for a while. And mostly because it was a lot of uncertainty, and I'm one of these people where uncertainty is a no-no. I have to kind of know where I'm going, what I'm doing, have a goal to something. And if I don't, it's kind of just...
You go crazy.
Yeah, I go, well, maybe, yeah, arguably. But, so these 6 months, I ended up moving back home, which was from the workplace about 50 miles each way. So people, please put that in perspective. In city traffic, yeah. So commute was, on a good day, an hour and a half each way.
Mm-hmm.
On a bad day, it was forever. In an alternate universe, I'm still there sitting in traffic. But yeah, it was bad. 3 hours. I would have to take like the outskirts of town, just kind of loop around the entire city just to get home. It was ridiculous. So like I said, it was probably one of the worst commutes I've ever done. And that also contributed, I think, to a lot of the stress. Then it came to finding a place and everything down here where we're located. Kind of, they're like hot pockets.
Putting a deal in on time. An
Yeah.
offer, not a deal, an offer on time. Because remember the other place with the view?
Yeah. And that one I got in, I don't remember actually how many days that one was in the market. I don't, but at least this place that that I purchased was only on the market for about 5 days before I saw it.
And she fell in love with it.
I did, but it's a nice place. It's comfortable, homey, very good neighborhood, family oriented. For the most part, quiet until you hear your neighbor walking with heels at 5 a.m. because she goes to work.
Or
But-
you hear your neighbor's dog.
Oh yeah, but that's lucky, man.
It's a Chihuahua.
It's not a Chihuahua.
What would you say it is?
That's a little white poofy dog. About the size of a Chihuahua. I don't know. I'm very bad with
It's
dogs.
as loud as a Chihuahua.
It is louder than a Chihuahua.
That is true.
It is louder. It's ridiculous. And basically, I mean, it's just been a roller coaster here because things keep on happening, which is another little...
Oh, yeah.
That's another thing about home ownership. They kind of keep on the down low.
Home ownership is not the same as renting.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. If you have a good landlord, which...
Everybody wants to own a house until they have to fix it themselves.
True. I agree. Mostly because of the costs.
Yeah, that's true.
Any little thing you go to repair, your AC breaks, $240. You need a plumber, at least $150. Hey, and that's cheap, you know. And then any renovations you want to do, any reparations, anything you need to fix, anything you don't need to fix but you want to do because why
Property
not?
value goes up.
Oh yeah, and then the value. Yeah, all those things are just they can be astronomical if you're not careful. So it's a couple things I would say are important. Is that appraisal that they do? Kind of look around your market and kind of make sure that your other homes are kind of on the same page as yours. Even if it has a lower value, doesn't per se mean it's a great deal. It a lot of times does if you have the money to fix it up, but sometimes it kind of doesn't. And then it could just be a money pit, and that's the last thing you ever want.
Yeah.
Like a cracked foundation. We don't have that problem here, by the way.
Lucky you.
We have bees.
She has her own bee farm
Might as well.
in the attic.
I mean, they're not there anymore, but we do have to go up there periodically to check.
And by we, she means me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll go up in the attic, but I'm not brave enough to fight the bees.
Fight the bees, babe. You let them live.
Mm-mm.
They're endangered and we need them.
No, those are honeybees. These are carpenter bees.
Well, tomato.
I don't think so.
I don't know how it works.
All I know is that not in my house. When it goes inside my house. Mm-mm. No way, Jose. We're stopping for a quick break from our sponsor. Hello, everyone. Anchor. Have you heard about it? If you haven't, then you should definitely check it out. It's the app that I use to make my podcast. And if you're looking into a fun and easy way to record and make money off of your own podcast, then this may be for you. The best part is that it's completely free and you have no minimum listenership. They even distribute your podcast for you so you don't have to, or even go through the complicated way of finding resources to do so. All you need to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. So I guess just to kind of move on, do you have any credit card debt? You don't have to tell me the exact amount, kind of.
No, I stay on top of that. I pretty much pay it off every month.
That's really good. And they say that's the best practice you can get.
And whenever I do a really big buy, it comes out of my savings. So.
That's really good that you could do that. That's another thing that this generation is surprisingly very aware of, is that credit cards aren't per se your friends. They actually aren't at all unless there's 0% APR and you're done paying it off before that time period. I personally do have credit card debt, but very minimal. Facts here that I picked up from Business Insider real fast. So about over half of all millennials actually owe less than 5K.
Oh, that's really good.
That is super good. I was expecting that to be a little higher. And I'm sure that, not everybody is as money savvy as the other. But some, especially a lot of families did get burned with that 2008 recession, that the kids at the time, we were all kids.
Thank God.
Yeah. Well, we were almost there.
Imagine being out of college.
Well,
fresh out of college.
Part of the generation was out of college.
Sure.
A good chunk of it actually was out of college. So we just skid past that. And we're kind of getting the remnants. But, and just as we were talking about home ownership, a lot of millennials still don't own homes. They're still renting. And that could attribute to a lot of factors. I mean, it could be the fact that where they live is a very expensive city and it's practically impossible to buy anything.
True.
The fact that because those cities are so expensive, the rents are astronomical, and that takes over 30% of their income that should be dedicated to rent or to your home. So they're probably not saving. And it can also be just, I guess, other factors. Some people are maybe, like, as you said, they don't want to look into, they just think about maintaining things themselves and they're like, no, I'm okay, thanks.
Yeah, and some people just want to have the option to get up and leave.
Yeah, that's true too. You're only tied to a year.
Travel. Live other places.
That's true. And now we're at that age where you can do that. I still travel, just haven't been able to do as much. And I'll be honest, a lot of my traveling has been limited. Either the accrual of the PTO or the lack of the funds or the allocation of my funds that kind of go towards fixing my house.
Yeah.
Kind of been prioritizing things differently. So, do you feel comfortable talking about, I mean, not with me, because obviously we have to talk about money when we need to talk about money, but with other people, like let's say your siblings or your family, are you comfortable talking about your money situation with them?
Yeah. I don't.
So if they say, oh, how much do you have in your savings right now, you're comfortable telling them what they are, what you have in there?
Yeah.
And you're comfortable talking about salary and everything else?
Well, my brothers, yeah. I never understood why people hide their salaries. I mean, I guess at some point when if you're making ridiculous amount of money, it's better to keep that to yourself. But I never understood why companies have that, what do you say, that silent rule.
The stigma?
The stigma.
That don't talk to your coworkers about how much you earn or
Yeah.
you suck. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I never understood that. But it's probably, I don't know, just a way to get for the company to keep
salary is low.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's always somebody that gets burned. I mean, they say, I was hearing you should probably switch jobs every 3 years. Ideally, that you tend to make more in the long run. I mean, I didn't do my research on this, so don't.
I've been in interviews where they tell me that I jumped jobs too many times, even though I've only had 2 jobs in the last 5 years.
Okay, but that guy was a jerk, okay? I remember who that was. Either way, I mean, that's another thing, a little fact that I was able to find, that surprisingly our generation is very comfortable talking about money. I know that I talk to my parents about money. There's some things that unless they blatantly ask me, I'm not going to tell them, but just because it doesn't come up in conversation. But if they ask how much I make a year, I'll tell them. If they ask how much I have in savings, if I can afford this, if I can afford that, yeah. I'll tell them. And my parents also trust me a lot with the way I manage my money. And a couple of ways too, like even I was able to borrow money from them when it came to the closing of this condo, just because of finance rules and the way the loan was written it would have fallen through had they not stepped in last minute. So technically I have 2 mortgages I pay. I pay my mortgage to my lender, and then I pay my parents a junior mortgage.
But that's part of a big chunk of your loan that you're not worried about the interest.
Yeah, those are the interest. I'm just thinking about that.
So
definitely thinking about that. The interest is definitely not fun.
Yeah.
Not something that I want to.
No, but it's great that your parents are able to step in and help you, because like I said, you're going to be saving a bunch of money on the interest that you're not paying for that portion of your loan.
Absolutely. And I am eternally grateful. Mom, Dad, if you guys listen, eternally grateful.
Do your parents know how to use Spotify? Or any podcast?
I sent it to them.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Yeah, they'll probably get, once this is edited, they'll also get a link for this one.
Okay.
Yeah. Another thing that I can do under my belt. So I guess this kind of covers this segment. Is there anything you kind of want to chime in on? How did it feel being on your first podcast?
Not as nervous as I thought it'd be. Too much.
All right. I think that's enough. That's enough for today. Thank you for listening to this episode of FefieAnn. If you wish to support this podcast, there is a Patreon account, as well as you can support me directly through Anchor, which is the app that I use to record my podcast. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.